Hello, reviews by ZH. Been putting this off for a while. Part 3 of my 2022 albums. Um, gonna end up with just explaining about 6 of the 20 S tier albums. Because yes, all these albums were good. Well, all these projects were good. I've listened to so much music that I don't remember much of it already. But there are 6 standouts that shocked me in general. Darko US released an EP right at the end of the year. Would have preferred it to go towards this year, 2023, but nope, they released it right at the end of the year. Still a great EP. It ended up being my top release from this part 3. Fit for an Autopsy was an album that I ended up listening to after a cutoff point, and then I just decided to break most of my points into uh, most of my. I made 2022 into 4 parts. Just part 4 will be coming sometime in mid 2023 to talk about that. Um, Fit for an Autopsy's album shocked me, and I was supposed to go see them live, and I can tell you for certainty that there were 3 songs that stood out to me. It was the opening song, the title track, Oh What the Future Holds, Far From Heaven, and A Higher Level of Hate. Those were the 3 songs that stood out to me. Um, the next one up is an EP by a band called Erase Them. They stood out to me. Um, Short, sweet, in your face punchiness. They released another EP this year that didn't hit as hard for me. Um, yeah, the EP from this year did not hit as hard as the EP from 2022. And then next up is the band that project that I fell in love with, the John Candy, in parentheses for the word John, Samplecore. And it hits hard. It's good workout music for sure. Want more? Hopefully they're gathering it into another EP or an album. And then the final specific one I'm going to be talking about is a shock to me. Justin Hurwitz released at the end of the year and ties with the movie Babylon. Another interest of mine is movies. One of the greatest soundtracks I've ever heard. And I don't usually like movie soundtracks. I don't even usually keep up with them. Um, I've gone back to this soundtrack because it's a good soundtrack. It's very long, but there are specific songs that give it a higher grade than I normally would give a soundtrack. Soundtracks usually end up being a high C tier if there's enough songs, i.e., 3 songs. There were 5 or 6 in this long track list that stuck out to me, and in general, it was a cohesive soundtrack that gave me what I needed from a soundtrack. So the Babylon soundtrack by Justin Hurwitz is the next and final S tier project that just interests me. And I'm going to read off the rest. But Dreamwake released an album. Sharp Tooth had an EP. Telltale had an EP. Lost in Separation had an EP. Hostages had an album. Four Funerals had an EP. Vildhjarta had a re-release EP that I liked. Ithaca had a great album that was S tier. Orphan Twin had an EP that was S tier. Dark Matter had an EP that was S tier. Still Bloom had an EP that was S tier. The Daily Chase had an EP that was S tier. Autumn Lies Behind had an album that was S tier. BRCDS had an S tier. Album. Dark Divine had an S tier album. And that's because everything that I said had a 94.5 grade when I first listened to it and above.